Thanks so much, Jordan, and welcome everyone who's here. Like Jordan said, my name is Caroline Lloyd, and I'm the Director of Engagement at Right Gift. We're so excited to be joining Nonprofit Learning Lab today just to dive into the topic of in-kind giving. So we at Right Gift are a free online platform for in-kind giving. We work with nonprofit partners across the country to create online wish list campaigns where donors can purchase items and have them shipped directly to the organization. We also help strategize and implement plans that include in-kind giving into your annual goals. So today we are going to cover how this type of strategy can benefit and transform your organization to reach your fundraising goals. And the goal at the end of this presentation is for you to leave with a renewed outlook on how to make strides for your organization through implementing a new focus on in-kind donations. So to get started on what we're going to cover today, we're going to start with a brief intro to in-kind giving, go over some benefits of including it into your fundraising strategies, how you can utilize in-kind giving no matter what your nonprofit's mission is, and then cover a few tools and tactics to maximize item donations. So we're going to start off with a little icebreaker poll. And the question here is, how much money did Americans give to charity in 2018? Now, this answer is coming from the USA Annual Giving Report and might be more than you would expect, just to give you a little bit of a hint here. And as you're thinking about these answers, you're most likely only thinking about cash donations. So one of the things moving forward and what we're going to cover today is how we make those cash donations go further in your annual just spending. All right. So if everyone has put in that information, Jordan, do we have any responses so far?
Yeah, so it looks like 52% said 127 billion, 39% said 427 billion, and 9% said nobody knows.
All right. Well, we do have an actual answer from the USA Annual Giving Report, and that answer is 427 billion. Now that is a lot of giving. And like I said, it's important to realize that these donations come in many different forms. And as a fundraising professional, cash donations has always been and always will be a large focus of your attention. But no matter what your organization's mission is, a portion of those unrestricted cash donations are being redirected to purchase services and items that you just naturally need to operate. But this is really where in-kind giving steps in. So we should probably talk about what in-kind giving is first. So in short, in-kind giving is a donation of anything other than strictly money, and can include donated services, time, or goods. Now to talk a little bit about all of these, in-kind time and services are professional services that are donated. They come in many forms of tradespeople donating their work for the nonprofit without expectation of payment. So for example, a plumber can fix your leaky sink as a donation of their skills, or a local law firm may offer their employees time to assist with legal matters for free. And these types of donations allow you to operate your organization with the proper support and services without pulling from your operating budget to pay for them. Now, in-kind donations of goods also operate this way, but a bit more tangibly. So a donor could purchase new chairs for your facility, hygiene products for a shelter, gift cards for families to buy meals. And today, my main focus is actually going to be on these tangible item donations. But just know and keep in the back of your brain that the overall strategy of implementing in-kind gifts in other categories like time and services operate very similarly. So you may be thinking, my nonprofit is not a great fit for in-kind donations. So let's dig into that. Now, some organizations are more inclined to benefit from traditional in-kind giving than others. The ones that come to top of mind are shelters, education focused organizations, food pantries, or disaster relief programs. But all nonprofits need stuff, whether it's evident in their external programming or not. So we all need office supplies, facility equipment, event materials, even donations like potential auction items. These are all really costly purchases that could be put in the hands of your donors so that you can continue to grow and serve your community. Now, obviously, any donation, be it cash, goods, or services, is useful. We all know this. But there are many perks of in kind donations that may get you thinking about utilizing them in a new way. So, first, in kind donations can keep your general operations running smoothly without dipping into your budget of unrestricted cash donations. So, for example, when a donor purchases food supplies for an event, you can direct the cash on hand to cover operating or overhead costs. This is particularly beneficial when planning for new programs that may not have been included in your fiscal year budget. If you know what items are needed for annual programs, you should tell your donors to give those needs and leave cash for unpredicted expenses. In kind donations also give donors complete transparency, and this is helpful in two ways. One, they feel more comfortable about where their contribution is being put to use. And it also gives you a chance to tangibly show them what it takes to operate your organization. And over the course of my time working with organizations at Right Gift, I've seen these benefits lead to both more in kind donations and also donations of a higher value. So, this transparency does lead to more engagement from donors. On the Right Gift platform, we've seen that the average donation size for in kind items is 2.5 times the average cash donation from GoFundMe. So people are more generous when they see what is going into the mission of your organization. To put this into a practical example that we've seen many times through the Right Gift platform, a donor may come to your organization with the intention of giving $10 for the holiday toy drive. But when they see the cost of a toy at $25, with the ability to purchase that exact toy that was chosen by a child, they tend to go the extra mile and give more than their initial intention. So now we know what in kind donations are and how they can benefit you. Let's dig into developing what a strategy looks like to get the donations that you need when you need them. So the first step in getting the items you need includes not getting the items that you don't need. So we've all had some type of nightmare story where a donor has given you materials that you don't want. And if you haven't had this happen yet, get ready because it will happen to you at some point in time. Um, this can be a huge problem and actually one that disaster relief organizations run into far too often. One study led by Jose Veras, an expert on humanitarian logistics, found that 50 to 70% of goods that arrive during disaster related emergencies should never have been sent in the first place and actually end up interfering with the actual recovery efforts. So, excessive donations of clothing and blankets can actually tie up relief personnel. And this happens in day to day nonprofits as well. But for example, after the 2004 South Asian tsunami, there were shipping containers arriving full of used high heeled shoes and old skis. Now, these are the type of donations that result from posting a static list of nondescript needed items. So, for example, saying we need shoes rather than specific types of shoes or how many pairs of shoes in each size. So, using this as an example, when asking for in kind donations, it's a smart idea to direct your donors to one granularly itemized wish list that is consistently being updated. This list should be easily accessible to your donors so that they know not to give you things that will take time and energy away from your hardworking staff. Now, the thought of managing this ideal wish list can become really overwhelming and may seem like it would take a good amount of time and effort just to manage. But have no fear. We are going to go over a few tips to make sure you're getting the most out of your wish list with as little effort as possible. So before we dig into those tips, I mentioned earlier a few things about RightGift. And just to give you some context as we move forward, RightGift is a completely free online platform for charitable giving. It was created with nonprofits in mind and easily allows you to create wish lists to benefit your in-kind giving campaigns, which is why I'm here today. Our passion lies in building world-class accessible technology for nonprofits, just to give you the tools that you need to successfully operate at no cost. So on the platform, you can build customized wish lists or choose from our pre-made templates designed by our nonprofit clients. Share those wish lists with your donor community, and they can purchase those selected items and then ship directly to you. So all these items come from our partner retailers, so they're guaranteed to be brand new. And I'll mention some more details about RightGift later on. So for now, let's dig into the specifics of wish list criteria, whether you're building it on RightGift or not. So wish list criteria. The first kind of tip that we have for you guys is to maximize your storytelling. Now, instead of listing every item that you could possibly use to make your operations run smoother, try breaking out your list into categories so that your donor audience can pinpoint exactly what these items are used for. Donors should be able to look at the list of items and imagine them being used in a smoothly operating organization, making a difference. That's why they're there to support you in the first place. So I like to recommend to people to choose a specific program, think about that need, and then create that wish list. We also recommend to keep your full wish list to 13 to 19 items. And that just makes it more attainable. Now, this may seem like a really short wish list to you, but it's much more impactful way of telling a story with your list and also keeps your donors from being overwhelmed by the need and ultimately not giving at all. So to keep this limit of items, many of our partners that we work with at RightGift have multiple wish lists broken down into categories. So a wish list for hygiene items, a wish list for snacks, or a wish list for office supplies. And this gives even more transparency to your donors and gives the donor authority and confidence in where they want their donation to be used. And the third tip that we have here is to ask for specific amounts of items. And this is for two reasons. One, you want your goal to be attainable, meaning your overall amount of items that you're asking for. And you also don't want too many of one item and not enough of the other. So, for example, in a toy drive, you don't want all of one toy for young boys and no toys for the girls. So, as soon as a donation comes in, whether it's on an online platform like RightGift or just in person, go ahead and update these quantities on your wish list to reflect that so that your inventory management is being up to date. A progress bar. So, not all wish list tools have a progress bar feature, but it's a great tool, especially when you step into the shoes of your donor. So, once you receive your first donation, it's a good idea to have some type of visual representation of your progress so that the donor can see. So you're probably used to seeing these visuals on GoFundMe or the Facebook fundraisers for birthdays or special holidays. And there's a reason because they're effective. On RightGift, this progress bar can be seen at the top of your campaign page, making it easy to update donors on how you're progressing and that they're giving to a drive that is actually going to meet its goal. So in order to make this as beneficial as possible, I always start I always suggest starting with a low end goal, just to boost your progress bar in the beginning stages of the campaign. On RightGift, this is pretty easily updatable, just by managing the quantities of each item that's on your wish list. And this tactic is actually something that we call right sizing, which is our next tip. So right sizing is a term we use which stems from the total number of items on your list, meaning the quantity of all items on your wish list. So right sizing affects how close you are to reaching that overall goal. Now, we've noticed over time that the higher the percentage, the more consistent donations will be because people want to be the donor that puts you over the edge to reach your intended goal because it's a great feeling, right? So, keeping an attainable amount of total items is super important. So, just to put this all in context, for example, if I have 5 different items that I'm collecting for a school supply drive: pencils, paper, erasers, crayons, and markers, and I set the quantity for each of those items to 10, that's 50 total items. So, when my first donor comes in and purchases one of each of those 5 items, that already puts me at 10% of my overall goal. Now, if I had set the quantity for each of those 5 items at 100, which may actually be your need, that first donation would only put me at 1% of my overall goal. So start on the lower end and then you can boost those quantities over time. All right, so the next way and crucial tip that we have for you guys is to make sure your wish list gets the attention it deserves. And that includes receiving the items when you need them. So you want your wish list to be something that your donors actually engage with. And this is best done when there's a sense of urgency. Now, many nonprofits keep a list of general needs on their website with no deadline. And they're generally a little outdated, hidden in an obscure tab somewhere on their site. And because of that, they get very little traction. So if there's no push for a donor to take action, no urgency behind that action, they won't take action. So for an organization that constantly needs items, how do you keep the urgency over time? We recommend setting goals and deadlines. Generally, we recommend using timed campaigns that last anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks. And I know it may be tempting to keep a campaign ongoing, but the urgency behind a timed campaign is so much more beneficial to you. So I always tell people to consider hosting monthly drives for very specific needs. So you can get very creative with these. I've seen a lot come by that are just fabulous. You can have mac and cheese March, deodorant December, juice box June. I apparently love alliterations. But keeping these lists timed, targeted, and fresh will engage your community so much more and actually have them asking, what are you going to do next on your next donation drive campaign? All right. And we also, another tip that we have is using what we call impact statements. So, impact statements are something that you'll put in the text of your online campaign, descriptions on social media posts. It's basically your elevator pitch. They're short, simple ways of explaining why you need these items. And that can go beyond just your nonprofit's mission. So, this is really your chance to provide an explanation of why the donation is needed or where the items are being put to use. So, I always say to state who is being helped and how. Generally, a lot of people refer to this as a dollar buy, which you've probably heard of that concept. It's a concept so that a charity can convey the amount of the impact of a certain gift amount. So typically, it's used to explain what a dollar buys. So, for example, your $58 monthly gifts will provide food for one family. Now, you can do the same thing with in kind donations. So, look at this bottom example over here on this photo. So, with the purchase of these school supplies, you're benefiting a child's education. Lack of school supplies leads to chronic absenteeism. Students are 7 times more likely to drop out if chronically absent any year between 8th and 12th grade. So, this impact statement clearly shows who is being helped, how, and what the larger impact is. And communicating this impact builds trust between your mission and the physical donation for your donor. So I absolutely recommend using impact statements. So we just walked through the setup of the wish list itself. Um, But what good is a wish list if no one sees it? So for a second, I want you to think about how many times you need to see an ad before you end up purchasing something. So for donors, this is the same process. So our question here is, how many times do consumers need to see an advertiser's message before they engage? Now, we've all seen ads pop up on our Facebook or Instagram feed, or even seen, billboards on highways. And I don't know about you guys, but I know that I warm up to brands and messages the more times I see them. But it typically takes a handful of views to realize what you're actually looking at and if you're interested. Um, so if we have any poll answers here, Jordan.
Yes, sorry, one sec. We are just getting some last minute results in here.
Yeah,
So
I
it
threw
looks
you
like
guys into a poll right from there. Question.
67% said 7 and 15% said 9, 5% said 13, and 10% said 4.
All right. Well, that was a pretty solid answer group there. Our answer is 7, and this actually comes from the marketing rule of seven that states consumers need to see an advertiser's message 7 times before they engage. So I always like to think of it as theater. So if you think you're being a little bit obnoxious, you're just starting to do it right. So as we go into how to get the word out about your wish list and in-kind donation needs, share, and share again. But first, we need to determine a few things: who your audience is and how to share that message. So, as a nonprofit, you can reach out to individuals, community groups, local businesses, corporate offices. The world is really your oyster here. But think of your donors as individuals with an army behind them. All of your donors belong to groups, networking circles, families, just so many community groups that are out there. So, really think creatively about how you're asking people to share what they're doing for your community. So, if you provide them with resources up front, they can help you accomplish your goal by recruiting. And don't be afraid to ask, because the groups that they belong to, like religious organizations, schools, community groups, and workplaces, are inclined to run in kind campaigns for tangible items because it can become cause marketing for them. So give them the resources to share their successes with the press, the social media, all of social media, shout outs, and individual goals for their campaigns. And the more people that are involved, the more successful you'll be, and ultimately more items that you'll be able to receive. So at RightGift, we've actually developed a feature to do exactly this. It's our promotions feature, and it allows businesses and community groups to promote a nonprofit's campaign with their name as the drive host. It's basically a virtual version of the what we call the quote unquote box in the lobby, with a very little work. So give your sponsors the resources to make it as easy as possible. Now, we can't talk about sharing without talking about social media. So aside from sponsors and external drive hosts, social media is the next place to go. So maybe you're amazing at social media, maybe you're not, but there are a few basic things that you can do that will get you on the right track. The biggest thing that I can stress about sharing on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram is that the more posts, the better. If you don't have time to post very often, you can use a social media scheduling tool, and this allows you to create posts all at once and schedule them into the future. And then also add some content and context. Pull from your impact statement about why you're hosting a drive, what your goal is, where these resources are being put to use, and then encourage other people to share your post. So if you have an organization account, also be sure to share that on your personal account and encourage others to do the same. So once multiple people share, you could potentially reach friends or friends of friends across the country. And if people are seeing your campaign from multiple people on their feed, that just gets them closer to the 7th time that they need to see it to actually engage, especially if you guys are running an in-kind campaign where givers can donate online. Once you reach a friend of a friend who's across the country, they still have the ability to donate those items that are on your wish list. So using an online tool is a great way to go about this. Email. We've seen a lot of success with campaigns utilizing email to spread the word about their in-kind donation campaigns. And there's a few reasons for this. So, as opposed to social media, people get a personal notification and normally take the time to open and digest the content rather than continuously scrolling. So, your interaction time is much higher through email than social media. And with this being said, the more engaging and frequent you can make these emails, the better. If they're checking email, they're on their way to donating, especially, like I said, if you have an online giving tool, they're just a few clicks away from donating those items that you're asking for. All right, so you've made a campaign, you've shared your campaign, now we manage the campaign. Um, so once you've fully maximized how you're communicating to your donor world, be sure to take a step back and monitor your progress and make adjustments to your campaign as necessary. So how far along are you in the timeline of the campaign with that deadline that you set? How have you shared? How many donations have you received? And if you're not on track to reach your goal, make changes and adapt your current strategy. So having a deadline really pushes you to redirect in a timely manner that ultimately benefits you in the long term and helps you learn in the process. So on the other hand, if you're doing really well and are getting close to completing your goal, maybe extend your campaign end date for a few days or a week, or add to the goal the amount of items that you want to collect. So go ahead and increase those quantities, like I mentioned before in the right sizing section. And ending a campaign. So when you're ending a campaign, make sure that you don't just disappear into the darkness. We all know this. Thank you letters are important. But communicating with donors or even almost donors after the fact is just as important. They want to see what you accomplished. And your best technique to encourage success for your next campaign is thanking everyone for the success that you achieved with this campaign. So you have public thank yous on social media or through your newsletter and your email, or personal thank yous. And not just for your biggest donors, every bit counts and deserves a personal note. But reaching out to givers personally allows you to build those relationships with new donors and maintain good relationships with repeat donors, even if it's not cash giving. Um, so if you've ever used Amazon Wishlist for in-kind donations, you probably know that donors don't have the option to share their information with you when they make a donation. But we at Right Gift know how valuable this information is to you, which is why we offer our reporting portal for donor information. So you have the ability to access donor information and get those thank yous, those emails out to your donors. All right. So, planning your next campaign. The great thing about in-kind campaigns is that hosting one lends itself to hosting another. In fact, your next one will actually be much easier. You've built excitement over a select list of items needed, which means you have room to grow and expand into different areas of your organization and different needs that you may have. So telling your community what your goals were for your current campaign, how you did in reaching that goal, and what you plan to do next. And if anyone missed your past campaign, they know that they can get involved in the next one. And then you kind of build this reputation for constantly hosting campaigns. Now, I've talked a lot during this presentation, and most of these tips and tricks come from my experience running campaigns for our nonprofit clients through Right Gift. We created this platform specifically for nonprofits, including the fact that it's entirely free, which is part of our core mission. We've listened to your concerns and needs and have tailored it to fill a need. Ranging from ways to set up multiple accounts under one umbrella accounts for larger organizations, and even tools to further engage corporate sponsors through workplace giving campaigns. We're constantly growing and always have a listening ear from our users so that you can make this platform a tool that you can confidently and consistently use. Um, so like I said, the items on your wish list that you can add to your Right Gift profile come directly from our retailers and are brand new, that you picked out, so you don't have to sort or go through things that you don't actually need. And also setting the quantities, like I mentioned in the progress bar section, this actually allows you to manage your inventory and make sure that you're getting the correct amount of items, because you never want to end up with, like I said, a holiday toy drive with 500 teddy bears and no iPods. So inventory management is also a great feature of this. We've also just launched our new Give Back program. So how this works is when you build a wish list using our Give Back retailers, 1% of the purchase price of every donated item will actually be donated back to your organization as a cash donation. And we launched this in light of everything going on with COVID-19. We realized that in-kind donations are a huge portion of nonprofits functioning, but also cash donation is incredibly important. So this is our first step in providing that for our nonprofits based on what they said. So through this platform or this program, your donor's contribution will be double dipping with both the in-kind giving and also the cash back donation. So the prices on our inventory are actually incredibly competitive. And because of this, we've actually seen many of our nonprofits actually just purchasing their general office supplies or operating needs through us so that they can get that cash back donation. And as a note, we are participating in Giving Tuesday now, next Tuesday on May 5th, and we're actually doubling this give back to 2% of the purchase price. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact me. But aside from all of these bells and whistles, we operate primarily on personalized customer support. So we're here to make sure that you're making the largest impact for your cause as you possibly can. And that goes beyond just technical issues. So each account holder will have a direct contact on our team that will sit down, brainstorm, strategize, and get to know you and your organization to make sure your campaign is effective. And we're actually listening during this entire process, which is where we get all of our experience. So every so often, your representative will reach out and help you plan campaigns, create your wish lists, or organize any marketing materials necessary, because we know you're busy, but we want you to be successful. We also have a Facebook community that's a private group for Right Gift users just to ask questions, collaborate, and share feedback amongst each other. This is a great way to see what other users are up to and find some best practices and stay in the know about our updates. So as we wrap up here, we can look back at everything that we covered. Basically, a focus on in-kind donations can transform your organization's bottom line by replacing all of those expenses that you're spending your hard-earned cash contributions on. Put that power in the hands of your donors, give them complete transparency, and really let them see what it takes to operate and what you're spending those cash donations on. Create clear, goal-oriented wish lists with a deadline. This is really going to just focus in all of the energy that you spend on all of your expenses, and put the urgency behind it for your donors to actually engage. And also using an online tool to effectively engage your audience is becoming incredibly more important as the weeks and days go on, especially right now, when nonprofits are really on the front line serving our communities, and have a higher demand more than ever. So for anyone who is out there, looking to give back to their community, make sure that you are right there giving them the tools that they need to engage and help your organization. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that you guys all got some valuable information, just to get you on your feet and running with a successful in-kind donation campaign. I will be taking a few more questions right now, but if I don't have time to cover them all, be sure to reach out to me at Right Gift. You can chat us on our website, or if you want to schedule a demo, I'm happy to set that up with you as well.
Great. All right, so it looks like we have a few questions come in. The first one is, as a small nonprofit with limited staff, is there ever a time when should say no to unwanted donations? We always just grinned in thanks, but didn't know if there was any tips you could provide.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's even more important to say no to unwanted donations with a small staff, because ultimately it may not seem like a lot of time that you're spending on figuring out whether to say yes, where to put those donations. All of those things really do add up, and they're just eating away at your time. So, I mean, be polite as possible, but the more information that you can give your donors up front, on their website or in newsletters or anything like that, saying these are the items that we do need right now, and exclude anything that you don't want. Um, so that's my tip of advice. You know your donor community best. So how to go about handling that situation is going to look different for everyone. But I think giving people the more information up front is the best way to go.
Great, that is all the questions we have for right now.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for joining us. And like I said, my email is here, caroline@rightgift.com. If you have any questions that you didn't ask, we're happy to schedule something to chat with you guys, and answer any questions.